8:13 at KPEL. Hey, if you're looking for somewhere to take your nice, clean car after you go to the wash, you're going to hit the roads of Acadiana on and around the area. And the man charged with making sure all that works is here with us, Secretary Shawn Wilson. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So lots going on in the DOTD world. A lot of great improvements being made. We're
Absolutely.
excited.
We are super excited.
Deidre's been telling us about this I-10 thing that's coming up. I can't wait. I just feel like it will kind of alleviate a lot of congestion, maybe make it a little bit easier to get on and off there.
You know what's so exciting about it is we call it the I-10 core, and we worked on this thing at the end of last year during transition. And the I-10 core is corridor rehabilitation and expansion, and we're super excited because that stretch of interstate is the oldest stretch of interstate in Louisiana on I-10.
Wow.
And so when you look at the really bad levels of interstate or the really bad performing interstate pavement, 2% of it is on I-10. 1% of it will be done by this, more than 1%. So we're cutting our really bad pavement in half with this. And so we'll have a pretty good system, not to mention the job opportunities, particularly in a downturn of our economy.
Yeah.
Putting that here is going to help folks in the oil industry get back to work, hopefully, because there's some parallel with the workforce.
It's funny because you can almost feel it when you get off the Basin Bridge, especially coming into Lafayette. You could start to feel
But
that's the old way of pouring pavement
that's
in
it.
sections.
It's joints, and so we're going to widen it, and we're going to maintain 2 lanes of traffic through there.
Okay.
And we're going to do 2 segments. First from I-49 down to Breaux Bridge. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to do the section from Henderson to the Chaffalot Basin. And
Perfect.
You will see a little different structure there because we are paring it down to 2 lanes on the Chaffalot Basin. And then once we finish those 2 sections, we're going to do the middle section. This is a total project cost of almost $300 million.
Wow.
And we're super excited because we've received $100 million that we did not expect because we were competitive, because we participated with our federal partners, because we had a balanced transportation agenda and policy that this administration is putting forth. And the governor and I have worked very hard cultivating those relationships, and it's paying off.
That's great. So part of all this, and of course, not a specific master plan, but just use the word master plan.
Master plan.
It's
Absolutely.
great to have a task force who is looking at that. You know, we've talked before. Whenever you took on this role, we were so excited. Someone who drives our roads and knows our frustration, you will get a voice in Baton Rouge.
You do, and I will tell you, I've got about 20,000 miles on a vehicle since April of this year. So when people say this secretary gets around, I do get around, and it's not in the air quite a bit. It's always on roads. But, you know, the governor began his administration with a commitment to do what's good for Louisiana and put Louisiana first. And this task force is what he's doing on transportation. This is really the second major step he's done. The first step he did was he doubled the Port Priority Program. He removed the diversions in year 1. We heard quite a bit of talk about putting trust in the trust fund and using the dollars as the people have authorized. Well, the people authorized them to do a couple of things. But there's an administrative decision that says we want to put it on roads and put it on projects that matter. And so we are doing that. And so he moved the $70 million back into the Highway Priority Program that had been out for several years. And so we are doing everything we can to get it right with what we have. So we've done that part, and we're committed to continuing to do that. The second phase of it is this task force, and it's a little different because every task force we've had in the past, we've written reports and we've put it on the shelf. We've talked about projects. We've debated what needed to be done. But we never had the will to say, here is what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, and most importantly, how we're going to pay for it. So this task force is focused specifically on how do you finance our system to maintain it in a much better way, because we've lost half of our value in our gas tax today, and the cost of construction has gone up 15 to 20%. So we're making a real concerted effort to say we know what projects need to be done, we know where they are, we know how to do them, and we have the innovation and the staff to make it happen. We just don't have the dollars. And so that's what we're going to try and right-size with this task force.
I love whenever you are kind of coming westbound, whether you're making the trip over to Florida or one way or another, and you cross over into Louisiana, all that nice new I-10 roadway around Slidell, getting into St. Tammany Parish on that side. I mean, is that the kind – you want to talk about planned well – where you do have that meeting. I want to say you'll probably know the stat, but isn't there some kind of stat about the number of interstates meeting at the one place you have?
There are very few places where within the city limits you have the intersection of 2 major interstates that traverse the entire state, and it's less than 15. So between I-49 and I-10, and that intersection being wholly contained in Lafayette Parish is huge. it's a huge opportunity, but it's also a challenge, and we recognize that. But at the end of the day, whatever we decide to do, however we decide to do it, we're going to have to put funds in our resource pocket to make that happen. And you take this project on the I-10, for example, it's receiving $100 million that we did not have before. It would not be ready today at the level it is had we not competed for that. Well, that's not how you pay your mortgage. That's not how you pay your car note based on what you're going to get next week. You have to provide a steady revenue stream to make that happen, and that's what we want to do.
Well, while we have you here, Secretary, any update on the I-49 corridor? I know we've talked a lot about what it's going to look like, how it's going to look like. I think the last time Deidre was here, who's wonderful. Let me just give her a great review. We love her. She gives us such great information when she comes on the air. And
wait, did she pay you for that?
Just a little bit, lunches here and there. No, and so basically the last time we talked, we had people who were just coming into the conversation and trying to talk about where it should be located. That phase is finished.
Been there, done that. We've got the T-shirt to prove it.
Yes,
so,
yes.
What I will tell you, and I say that very tongue-in-cheek, but we appreciate that level of input. And I see Mike Grimsley, a buddy of mine right there. I appreciate that input. If we continually discuss and debate the project, it'll never get built. Mm-hmm. And so once we've made our decision on where the footprint is, our job now is to make the best decision on how to function within that footprint. And that's where we want engagement. That's where we want input. That's where we want to build something that's world-class. And that's going to be a best practice around the country because not many places have a corridor that is as diverse and multimodal as this. This has rail. It has commercial. It has downtown. It has agriculture. It has industrial. It has aviation. It has pedestrians. I mean, it's got culture. Yeah. It's got environmental issues. So we want to get it right, and we want to do it as best we can, and we don't shy away from the big ticket item, the cost of it, because the cost of changing our mind and doing something different is going to be huge, not because of the dollars that we're going to have to spend, but because of the impact of waiting to make something happen, because the Evangeline Thruway carries about 60,000 cars a day.
Wow.
It's been the same for the last 20-plus years that I've been a resident of Lafayette. And people continue to have accidents. It's still one of the scariest routes I think people talk about. And I rode it last week or week before last in an 18-wheel, and it was a very difficult ride. Mm-hmm. And there are people who get to I-10 on 49, and they divert to Louisiana Avenue or Ambassador Caffrey to avoid going through the thruway. And that adds more congestion to the local traffic, to school traffic, to businesses that work in and around that corridor. And so we believe in getting it right, and it's going to take some time. We're going to do the supplemental environmental impact statement. We expect to have it late in 2018. I had hoped to get it done sooner than later, but we're being responsive to the community. We're listening to them. We're going through a process called CSS. That's the first time that we've done it, and CSS is a really good way of saying, you all live here. And I want to echo the comments of a friend of mine, Secretary Anthony Fox, who says an interstate and infrastructure should be like living room furniture. And I'm not going to buy a sofa for you. You're going to buy the sofa that you're comfortable with. Yeah. So because I own it, because I operate and maintain it, I should have some say in it. But I need to involve you as well because you're going to live here. What makes this special is I live here too, and I live in the corridor. Yep. I live a rock's throw away off Evangeline Thruway and Martin Luther King. And so I live this. I ride my bike to the park with my son. I did it one time because it's not conducive to crossing it on a bicycle. So we're going to get it right, and it's going to take a little time. We had hoped to be a little further. I would have much rather spend that $100 million building an interstate through Lafayette and building a real interchange, something that's going to add value to downtown to complement that beautiful sign that they have. Yeah. We're not there yet, and we just want to get there, and we want to make sure that we're prepared when we pass some additional revenue for transportation. All right, Secretary Shawn Wilson, we appreciate your time. Thank you. For sure. Really great information, of course, as it pertains to the roads we have to drive on all the time. And congratulations on your pink wig, too. I love it. Oh, the pink wig is great. The first time my father-in-law walked into my house and that pink wig was on the foyer table, he had some questions. But we're good now. We're good now. We'll tell you more about the Komen Acadiana bigwigs coming up again. Thank you, Secretary, for your time. Thank you.